home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
We are finally at the final Football Friday of the Philadelphia Eagles season. I am Josh Hennig, hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, this Sunday will be the final game of the Eagles season. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins pregame at 5 p.m., kickoff at 6:30 p.m. You also listen on 97.3 ESPN. Mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We are going to have you covered on all angles today. So here's the breakdown coming up here on game night. We got Super Bowl champion Tony Banks. He's going to break down the quarterbacks, the defenses, and more coming up here on 97.3 ESPN in less than 20 minutes. We'll get you all of the betting analysis, the prop talk, all that stuff with Andy McNamara coming up at 6:40 tonight. And as always, who are you guys picking? How confident are you in the Eagles this Sunday? 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. But first, as I wrote about less than 2 hours ago at 973ESPN.com, we have good news for you here on a Football Friday. There's been a lot of concern and worry and speculation all week about the health of the Eagles, and I tried telling you guys last week here on 97.3 ESPN. Some of you listened, some of you didn't. No grudges held. I understand for some of you, you hold very intently to some of the other people's opinions out there, and I don't hold it against any of you. But we told you here first. The injuries that popped up last week would not be an issue this week. And now we have the official injury report for Super Bowl 59. 3 players are questionable. And to be blunt, 2 of them are insignificant. Okay? Devonta Smith, he's all good to go. Jalen Carter, I told you guys yesterday this would be true. He's all good to go. Landon Dickerson, no injury designation, good to go. Juergens, no injury designation, good to go. Dallas Goedert, no injury designation, good to go. So, let's start with those guys there. The number one key coming into this game is going to be who wins in the trenches. And for Philadelphia, all the people who had any concern going into this game are all good to go. Biggest news of the day for me, okay? Jalen Carter, illness, he kicked it. Dickerson, knee, Juergens is back, they're good to go. There was never a scenario where you were going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs if your offensive and defensive linemen were not at full power as much as possible, playing in their 21st game of the year, right? The Eagles' starting offensive line combines for almost 1,700 pounds. You can exert a level of authority and control in this game, but you had to have Dickerson and Juergens out there, number one. You know, I started reading the book, The Why is Everything by Michael Silver, and it breaks down about, one of the reasons why the Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay teams won championships or at least for in Kyle's case, they got to multiple Super Bowls, was because there was an incredible investment in the offensive line. Mike Shanahan saw what the 49ers did and said, I don't want to do that. I want to lean more into what the Dallas Cowboys did, right? And then that mentality was brought into the conversation with guys like Kyle Shanahan. 3 Super Bowl appearances as a coach. Sean McVay, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 championship as a coach. The idea of having these massive athletic offensive linemen is a blueprint for a championship team. And so for the Philadelphia Eagles, having from left to right, Jordan Mailata, 6'8", 360, 370, right? Landon Dickerson, 6'6", around probably 345. Cam Jurgens, the smallest of the group, basically around 6'6", 320, 315, depending on how much he had to eat over the weekend. Mekhi Becton, 6'5", 6'6", 350. And then Lane Johnson, a lean 6'6", 330. It's the idea that we don't just have big offensive linemen. We have the biggest, the strongest, the most athletic. And for Philadelphia, you are going against a Kansas City defense that has not played anyone like you before. This entire year, you go through the Kansas City Chiefs schedule and you realize that when they played the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, AFC Championship game, and they allowed 147 rushing yards, Buffalo doesn't have the beast that you have on the offensive line. When they allowed 149 rushing yards to the Houston Texans, Texans O-line is nowhere as good as Philadelphia. When the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 17, and Kansas City allowed 202 rushing yards as a defense. Steelers, very good offensive line. Eagles are better. How about when the Cleveland Browns had 139 rushing yards in a 21-7 loss? You see in the picture here, folks? There has been an assumption that Kansas City's defense is untouchable. And I'm telling you, they are touchable because of the Eagles' offensive line. Now flip it over to the defense. What is the Eagles' defense got now? Jalen Carter. The Kansas City Chiefs, they have shown you that they can be vulnerable to pass rushes. They had a turnover in the AFC Championship game against the Bills. You go back to earlier this year, the first time they played the Bills, they had 2 turnovers in that game. Why? Because the Bills were able to get pressure up the middle, along the edge. Not the kind of pressure that flushes Mahomes consistently out of the pocket. It's the kind of pressure that contains him in the pocket and makes him sweat. When the 49ers were healthy earlier this year, they got 2 turnovers by the Chiefs offense. Chargers defense was very good this year. 2 turnovers. There is a pattern here. You can take advantage, and Jalen Carter may be the second most important player going into this game behind Saquon Barkley for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the other side of the injury report, I understand some of you are going to wonder, well, who are the 3 questionable players? Well, I mentioned 2 of them. They're backups. Nick Gates, he's your backup interior offensive lineman. He is questionable. He has been inactive for half the season, so I'm not expecting him to have a major consequence on this game. CJ Uzomah is interesting because he is a blocking tight end. Do the Eagles want to have more blockers, maybe a little more 12 formations out there in this game? It's certainly something that has to be in the conversation, right? It's something that has to be at least discussed. And that's where CJ Uzomah comes in. He can be that extra blocker on the line. The name we talked about all week, though, is Brandon Graham. Full participant at practice today, but he is listed as questionable. If you have seen any of the footage of him practicing, he looks like he's ready. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and dominate the game or have some sort of monster game where he's going to change it. Remember, I don't need Brandon Graham to be the best defensive end on this team. I've gotten a lot of production out of Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith this postseason. And Jalix Hunt's had an impact as well. I can't forget about him. But if Brandon Graham can give me somewhere between 12 to 18 snaps on third down and have an impact on this game to maybe give another look for those tackles for Kansas City. Remember, Joe Thuney, he is not a tackle, but he's playing left tackle in this game. He is a guard. He does not have the footwork to handle the outside. On the other side, Jawan Taylor, the most penalized tackle in the NFL. Brandon Graham is a crafty veteran. He can take advantage of both of those guys in a clutch, important situation. I anticipate Brandon Graham plays. I think the questionable is just a precautionary thing because they still have to activate him officially from injured reserve. Remember, they opened his practice window over a week ago. They must activate him from injured reserve if he's going to play tomorrow. So that's something to keep an eye on with the transaction wire. But as I said, Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And we'll dig deeper into this with Super Bowl champion quarterback Tony Banks in less than 10 minutes. The key to this game is going to be in the trenches. Kansas City does not have the offensive line the Eagles do. Kansas City has some good players and one amazing player, right, Chris Jones, on their defensive line. But I have heard multiple people bring this up. You can attack Chris Jones in a way that you can't attack Jalen Carter. You can limit the impact that Chris Jones has on a game. You can neutralize him to an extent. You can't do that to Jalen Carter. So if Philadelphia handles Chris Jones and is able to slow him down with them boys like Dickerson and Becton, let those big behemoth athletes get their hands on him. It is an opportunity to make an impact on this game through the running game and the passing game. And I'm not going to overlook the passing game. The last time Jalen Hurts was in the biggest game of the year, he had a huge passing day at the office. And Devonta Smith, in his 3 games against C. Spagnuolo, has had some monster games. Also, A.J. Brown going against Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie last year was the best nickel in all of football. He was an inside slot corner. He is now on the outside. That young man is not equipped to handle A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown said this week, my knee feels great. Best I felt in weeks. Chiefs, you better watch out. Let's squeeze a couple texts before we hit the break. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. I'm laughing at Shaner because he likes to change up where he's at all the time when he's listening to 97.3 ESPN. But Shaner at ShopRite says, Josh, what do you think Vic will do about all the motion? The Chiefs burned us 2 times last Super Bowl with motion more than anyone else has. Also, will Spags' blitz packages overwhelm Hurts, or can he be grown enough to combat that? Well, let's address the blitz. The blitz part first. Excuse me. Jalen Hurts saw the blitz packages from Spags 2 years ago, and he had a great game. Jalen Hurts was the 3rd most blitzed quarterback in all of football this year. He finished the year with the 8th best completion percentage overall and the 5th best quarterback rating against the blitz in the NFL. I think he can be fine as long as Kellen Moore calls the kind of game that puts Hurts in the offense in the best position to be successful. Don't hold the ball. Get the ball out of his hands. Slants, quick hitters, rhythm throws. That's how to beat the Spagnuolo blitz. Now, to your question about the Chiefs and the motion, Vic Fangio's answer to motion is not letting the Chiefs know what you're doing before the snap. One of the reasons why motion works so well is because what it does, Shaner, is that it exposes the defense. If you're moving guys around and you're usually doing that to see, are they in man or are they in zone? Well, if they put Travis Kelce in motion and somebody follows him, that's not news to Patrick Mahomes. He already knows that. But if you don't move anybody when guys go in motion, now Patrick Mahomes is thinking they're in his zone. But what if they're not? Again, the prerequisite to the Fangio scheme is do not get beat over the top. Keep everything in front of you. Do not let them have game-breaking plays to destroy you. You go back to Fangio's 8 games against Mahomes. Mahomes did not always have great games. He had solid games. Why? Because the Chiefs used their run game to take advantage of Fangio's weak front lines. When he was in Denver, when he was in Miami, he did not have the talent and the depth on the defensive line that Philadelphia does. So the Chiefs ran the ball a lot against them. Will the Chiefs be able to run the ball against this defensive line for Philadelphia like they did previously against the Dolphins and the Broncos? I don't think so. I think that is more the answer than anything. This defense is built to stop the pass. The question is does Kansas City try to abuse the Eagles through the run and then go to the pass? We'll talk more about it next with Tony Banks, Super Bowl champion quarterback, with me, Josh Hennig, here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
Super Bowl 59 is on Westwood One.
The Philadelphia Eagles are headed to New Orleans.
Now the Chiefs are on the doorstep of history, going for a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Graham. Join Kevin Harlan, Kurt Warner, Laura Oakman, Gene Steratore, Devin McCourty, and me for all the action right here.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's home of Super Bowl 59.
Love deserves nothing less than perfection. At Sage Jewelers, find the most exquisite natural diamond engagement rings, stunning designer jewelry, and timeless watches from Tissot, Seiko, Citizen, and more during their Sweetheart Sale.
Explore their last chance case, where savings soar up to 70% off. Plus, they've expanded their lab-grown diamond collection.
Their in-house jewelers provide repair services with precision and passion.
Visit Sage Jewelers, the real jeweler, on Tilden Road in Northfield.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Winter savings are heating up at Boardwalk Honda. With over 200 new vehicles in stock and dropping interest rates, there's never been a better time to buy. Plus, qualified buyers pay nothing for 90 days with approved credit. Our expert team is ready to help you find your perfect Honda with personalized service that puts you first. Visit BoardwalkHonda.com or stop by today. Hurry, these deals won't last. Boardwalk Honda, your trusted destination for exceptional Honda savings this season. No payments for 90 days requires approved credit. See dealer for complete details.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Super Bowl 59 just a few days away as the Eagles continue preparations for the Kansas City Chiefs for Sunday's showdown. Philadelphia in their 5th Super Bowl and looking for their 2nd Vince Lombardi trophy. They entered the game ranked 1st in total defense, 2nd in rushing. Saquon Barkley was honored on Thursday night as the Offensive Player of the Year. He led the NFL in rushing, tallying over 2,000 yards this season. NBA, the Sixers are in action tonight in Detroit to take on the Pistons. Philadelphia has dropped 3 of 4 after losing to Miami Wednesday. Saturday. They're one game back of the Chicago Bulls for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Pistons, they've dropped back-to-back games. The Flyers, they're hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday night and looking to snap a 5-game losing skid after they fell Thursday night to Washington 4-3. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where TurboTax Expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The next entry in our parade of winter storms arrives tomorrow. Once again, a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, and then a transition to plain rain. Increasing clouds tonight, low of 26 degrees. Tomorrow starts cloudy and cold, high 36. Snow rolls in tomorrow afternoon, quickly changing to icy mix and then rain. Could see an inch of snow and a light glaze of ice. Things will wrap up around daybreak Sunday morning. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Every bet you place brings you closer to the perks only Caesars can offer. So download the app using the promo code Radio1000 and place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,059 for Super Bowl 59. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned is bonus bet. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Let's continue our Super Bowl 59 conversation. Of course, you can hear the game this Sunday here on 97.3 ESPN. Pre-game coverage begins at 5 p.m. Kickoff at 6:30 Eastern. And, of course, don't forget you can hear the game also on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for free. And our conversation right now with Super Bowl champion Tony Banks is being brought to you by Shore Physicians Group, Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Division. Learn more at shorephysiciansgroup.com. Yes, Tony Banks, he was a part of the Baltimore Ravens that won the Super Bowl. It was basically almost 25 years ago at this point, and also he played 10 years in the NFL. Tony, welcome back. How you doing today?
I'm well, man. Looking forward to talking some shop with you.
So here's where I want to start with you, because as a quarterback, I want to know from you, which of the two defenses concerns you as a quarterback more? Is it the Chiefs' defense or is it the Eagles' defense?
I think if I'm game planning, it's the Eagles' defense, right? Their front seven is formidable. They can push the middle of the pocket, which that's what causes most problems for quarterbacks. Like, if you have a pocket to step into, you can sometimes get away from those edge rushers. But when the guy's pushing the pocket like Chris Jones and Jalen Carter, it can make things really difficult. So you're going to have to, really win on the edges. And I think both teams do that pretty well.
You mentioned about the edges. We know the Chiefs are very underwhelming on those edges, right? Jawan Taylor is the most penalized tackle in football. Joe Thuney, he's a great guard, but now he's playing left tackle. So now, if you're worried about those tackles, you mentioned Jalen Carter. Does the Jalen Carter push up the middle maybe make a little more stress or strain on those maybe not as great edges?
Well, I don't think the edge guys, the edge rushers or the edge protectors are really going to feel the heat of those inside guys. But what makes those inside guys make those outside guys better is that you actually have to involve more interior linemen to block the interior guys. So you have a lot of one-on-one action outside. So who's going to win those matchups? Is it going to be penalties? Is it going to be, third down and longs? Who's winning on first and second down? So, the chess game that's going to be played is going to be interesting by both teams, to say the least.
And we know Jalen Carter was the most double-teamed defensive lineman in the NFL this year. Tony, we talked about before, you and I, about this Eagles defense, Vic Fangio, and all that good stuff. For you, coming into this game, we know that this defense has gotten 10 turnovers in the postseason. What does that say to you that the Chiefs have to look out for from this Eagles defense?
Well, I'm familiar with Vic. He was a defensive coordinator my years as I finished my career down in Houston. And he's as detail-oriented as anybody. He's competitive as a coach as anybody. He's got a very Belichick-esque, I'm not smiling ever on the practice field. Don't joke with me, As a former player, I used to talk a lot of trash. Practice can be fun and trash talking can be fun. It's not always about, calling somebody's mama out, the trash talking can be fun. And Vic doesn't play that. He's going to be prepared for this game. I'm very familiar with his game plans. I played against him. I was on the same side as him. So he's gonna be a formidable play caller come Super Bowl Sunday.
Talking with Tony Banks, Super Bowl champion, 10-year NFL veteran quarterback, here with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned about, the detail that Fangio goes into it. He made a comment earlier this year, and I just thought of this. I wanted to bring it up to you because you said you know Fangio from your time in Houston. He made a comment earlier this year that it's his job to coach up and teach his guys to be their best. Well, at first, people were like, that's coach speak, right? I got to do a better job. Mm-hmm. But literally after he said that, the Eagles went on that 10-game winning streak. Literally after he said that, they were allowing 13 points a game on that 10-game winning streak. So what is it about Fangio and his teaching and his coaching that makes him able to turn guys into what we have seen this year?
Well, just because it's coach speak doesn't mean it's not true, right?
Right.
Doesn't mean it doesn't work. Doesn't mean the verbiage doesn't ring true amongst his players. Belichick he had a famous saying, do your job. And that sounds very simple to the layman, right? It sounds, yeah, of course, do your job. But so much of today's modern football is about smoke and mirrors. You got motion this way. Can they jet sweep this way? Are they going to screen this way? All to keep those pass rushers at bay, to give them more to think about. And when you can do those things, when you can be multiple and be really able to disguise things, even the simple plays can be just a simple handoff, can be, really effective. The general person watching the game is like, well, block the guy in front of you, or, get past the guy in front of you. And it's so much more complicated than that, right? You have to have guys who have their eyes in the right place, because if you think about it, if you're a defensive tackle and all you want to do is follow the ball, you're going to be fooled so many times, right? You have a couple keys that you're looking at, that guard and that tackle, like their first and second step. They're going to tell you if I'm going to fight pressure, I'm going to try to evade pressure when it comes to beating the block. That isn't just on offense. So many things come into factor when you're trying to disguise things. And both of these teams are so multiple in their motions and their shifts and their quarterback play. And both quarterbacks can make plays with their feet. So when it comes to those details, the team that doesn't get fooled the most, the team that doesn't look in the backfield when they're not supposed to, when their eyes are supposed to be in a certain area, but they take them somewhere they don't need to be because they're concerned with the smoke and mirrors, that's the team that's going to suffer the most. And the team that doesn't do those things might rip off a 25-yarder as opposed to a 5-yarder. And that could be the difference in a win or loss in the Super Bowl for sure.
Let's flip it over to the Eagles offense, because obviously the headliner is Saquon Barkley, right? I mean, the guy had 2,000 rushing yards. He's 30 yards away from breaking Terrell Davis's all-time regular and postseason rushing record. But could Jalen Hurts actually be the X factor in this game on Sunday?
If Jalen is healthy, I think he's very capable. We saw the last time he played the Chiefs. He's very capable of having a big game. And I think then what was the back? DeAndre Swift, who had a great year that year and was definitely a cog in the system that year to get him to that point. But Saquon's a different beast, right? Like he's got something to prove. He's healthy. He just had an extra week, as all these guys have. So that's one of the fun things about the Super Bowl is the team is going to be as healthy as they've been in weeks, both teams. So, yeah, I mean, Saquon is the X factor. And if you load up on Saquon, can Jalen make the throws necessary with some really outstanding weapons on the outside? And, and then can you keep the game in an aspect to where you're not giving the ball to Patrick Holmes with one score at the end of the game, because he's proven time and time again that he's going to make the plays necessary to give his team a chance to win. So, these are factors that are going to come into play, and if it comes down to who the better quarterback is, I mean, we all know Pat Mahomes has proven he's that guy. But Jalen can be very dynamic. If you load up the box on Saquon, he can be very dynamic.
You mentioned about the receivers and getting the ball to them. You played with some guys who are the kind of guys that you were always looking to get the ball to, right? Andre Johnson in Houston, Kadri Ishmael in Baltimore, Isaac Bruce when it was the St. Louis Rams. Talk about what the quarterback is thinking, in those moments where he knows, I want to get my ball to these guys who can make plays once they get the ball in their hands.
Well, I tell you what, the best times I had was probably my time with Isaac Bruce, the times he was healthy with the Rams. If they loaded the box, which we didn't have a great run game my 3 years there, but when they did, I knew where I was going with the football. And this is what Jalen is going to be forced to do. If they load the box, you got to drop some dimes outside the numbers to some receivers that don't make it very hard, right? If you can you get in a position where it's pure one-on-one, and I'm not talking about just throwing up some go balls, just throwing, you got to be able to run the route tree outside the numbers, and Devontae Smith and AJ can definitely do that. I know my time at quarterback, it was the easiest when I saw blitz man-to-man. Okay, I like this matchup over here at Isaac. Nobody can cover that guy. That's where I'm going with the football. So that's what Jalen has to be confident in. When they load that box, hey, I hope you load the box. Please load the box. I'm about to chunk it down the field, and if you can tackle him, good luck.
You mentioned your time in St. Louis with Isaac Bruce. I got to ask you really quick, just a couple more for Tony Banks here on 97.3 ES, because you won the Super Bowl championship with the Baltimore Ravens. When you were in St. Louis, Dick Vermeil was your coach. And when you have a coach that's been to a championship, right? Dick Vermeil had gone to a Super Bowl with the Eagles years earlier before he got to St. Louis, right? And what is that like, having a coach like that in the building that makes a difference for guys?
Well, first off, Dick Vermeil is a different guy, right? He's a different dude, as they all are, as all the great ones are. But Dick Vermeil was a very caring coach. He, put your arm around you and, tell you how much he cares about you and invite you over to dinner and, crack a bottle of wine with you and give you all the warms and fuzzies. But at the time, the game had passed him by a little bit, like the concepts. He was a great coach, don't get me wrong. I still love him to death. We talk all the time. And he was really great for my career because we talked through a lot of my young stuff together. But it's so unique to play for a coach that you care about and cares about you. That the game is so result-oriented that those relationships aren't common. But as you can see, a guy like Andy Reid, to me, is so impressive because he's had a wide array of success with different quarterbacks, and he's able to weather storms when he wins championships. That's so hard in the NFL because when you win, even that third, fourth team nickel corner, the other 30 teams want him. The other 31 teams want him, right? So it's hard to keep a team together, but the culture keeps it together. And, of course, when you have a dynamic quarterback, which Andy Reid has had a lot of times, I think a lot by his own coaching and play calling, it makes it a lot easier, but it's still like a formula that is impossible to predict, right? It's like being a parent, right? You can feel like you're doing all the right things, and then your kid turns 16, and like, who the hell are you? So it's hard to keep those teams together and to keep that culture together when you're winning, because all these guys are so wanted across the league after you win. And it's really special what the Eagles and the Chiefs are doing. Even though the Eagles haven't been winning Super Bowls, it's really special what they've been doing.
Yeah, getting the 2 and 3 years is very unique, and to say the least. Tony, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, as a quarterback, when you're watching Pat Mahomes and you see him, he's not always been the best quarterback in the regular season these last 3 years, right? But they've been to the Super Bowl for 3 straight years.
Yeah.
So what is it about Mahomes that he seems to flip that switch from the regular season where, he's not always the best quarterback week in and week out, but in the postseason, it's like he takes it to a whole nother level?
Well, I was a multi-sport athlete, so when I get asked questions like this, I like to kind of parallel to other sports. So when it comes to a guy like Pat Mahomes, he can be Greg Maddux. I don't know if you know baseball.
Oh, yeah.
He can be Greg Maddux and paint the black and the two-seam fastball, even though it's only going 85, is going to move, 8 inches to get to the black. He can make that pitch. He can make the Randy Johnson, pitch that buckles your knees. He's got all these pitches in his repertoire. And, the great ones, when the pressure is on, when the game is the most important, I don't put Michael Jordan in any conversation. But when it comes to what Pat Mahomes has done, you talk about, is he lighting the world on fire during the regular season? But then you look at the personnel. He is really special when it comes to put anybody out there with me, and I'm going to get us to a chance where we can win every game. And we might not win them all. I imagine there's going to be a season or two sooner or later when he's going to lose some of those fourth quarter games, right? It's just, it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. But the fact that he's able to put whatever pitch you need, whatever throw you need in the right time, I'm going to get the out. I'm going to get the batter out, and we're going to get back to the dugout, and then the defense is going to get us the ball. But, it's this great kind of team culture and phase football that is even for the teams that root against him, you got to know how special it is. I
got to ask you, Tony, if I let you go, you got a pick for the game?
I am ready for the Eagles to get one. I want Jalen to get one because – he gets so ridiculed about not throwing for 300 yards a game, but I think what he has done is so unique. He even going back to college, I think we've talked about this on this show before.
Yep.
It's so unique what he's done to have won national championships with basically, throwing to the first receiver if he's open and then running, to turning into this NFL top tier starter quarterback because he went back to the drawing board. That's what Jalen's going to do every year. He's going to go back to the drawing board whether he wins or loses, and I think that is awesome. He's not ever going to be Pat Mahomes when it comes to we talking about all that pitch repertoire. He's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be Josh Allen when it comes to being able to throw a 50-yard laser down the field off his back foot. He's not going to be that guy, but he's going to get back to the drawing board every offseason, every time he gets a chance to get on the practice field, and he's going to work on his game, and you're going to see improvement every year. And he's already getting his team to where they need to be. So sky's the limit, man.
A lot of great stuff there. By the way, Jalen Hurts is now, I believe it's 89-22 as a starting quarterback between college and the NFL with 10 different offensive coordinators. So, it's kind of like the Al Davis saying, just win, baby, is Jalen Hurts. Tony Banks, of course, 10-year NFL quarterback, Super Bowl champion. You can give a follow on the Twitter X platform at Tony Banks 12. Tony, great stuff today. I appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you, bud. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. And, of course, our Super Bowl 59 analysis being brought to you by Shore Physicians Group Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Division. Learn more at shorephysiciansgroup.com. Coming up next, we will get into the betting lines and the props with Andy McNamara from the Sick Podcast, joining me here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Oubre has it again. This time he fires. It's good. He nailed it. A triple from the right side by Oubre.
It's Sixers Pistons tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
There's a place where you can come as you are, see how it's made, and why we make it. You'll explore roads less traveled, steal a few moments, and slow down the clock. Then just kick back and stay a while. It's time to get away close to home in South Jersey. Head to visitsouthjersey.com to plan your trip today. We'll see you down the road.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Are you ready, South Jersey? As the birds soar to the big game, Broadleys is here to keep your home comfort in the game. Don't let a broken heater or leaky pipe ruin your celebration. Call Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning for fast, reliable service you can trust. Just dial 609-390-3907 or visit Broadleys.net. Go Birds and go with Broadleys, your hometown plumbing and heating champs since 1911.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Kids, work, running errands, sitting in traffic. Life is busy. Shore Physicians Group wants you to take time for your health. Shore Physicians Group offers the highest level of quality, compassionate care close to home with convenient locations in Margate, Marmora, Mays Landing, Northfield, Ocean City, and Summers Point. Life is busy. Take time for your health. Visit shorephysiciansgroup.com and make your appointment today.
Shore Physicians Group. Be well connected.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. Every bet you place brings you closer to the perks only Caesars can offer. So download the app using the promo code Radio1000 and place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,059 for Super Bowl 59. Open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned is bonus bet. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Of course, we want to get into, for all of you guys who tune in throughout the entire year to hear the Football Friday picks, we're going to get you some of those conversations about the lines, the props, and we're going to do it thanks to my friends at Caesars Sportsbook. It's the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards where every bet you place brings you closer to the perks only Caesars can offer. So download the app using promo code Radio1000 and place your first bet today. Listen, if you win, it's great because obviously you're going to win money. But if you don't win, you get it back in a bonus bet up to $1,059 for Super Bowl 59. So you want to get those bets in before kickoff at 6:30 this Sunday. Don't forget, open to new users in New Jersey who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned as a bonus bet. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. He is the host of the Sick Podcast, which is convenient because I feel like I'm the best I've felt in about 2 weeks. I've been sick off and on for a couple of weeks. It's Andy McNamara joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. My friend, how you doing today?
Josh, you're feeling better just in time for the big game, brother. How you doing? Go Birds! Let's do this. Come on.
So, for you, when you see a game like this, right, where the line hasn't even moved In 2 weeks, it's been 1 or 1.5 everywhere you look for Chiefs, right? The over-under, it's moved a little bit. It started at 50.5, it's moved down to 48.5. There's a lot of sharp money that came on the under. But for you, when you see the numbers not moving too much, what does Andy McNamara think?
Well, I'm looking right now on ESPN, Josh, and I'm seeing it as a pick'em even. I'm seeing it even. So what I'm seeing is if the number doesn't move, and especially when it's this close, that means even money's coming in. I heard the other day more was in on the Eagles. I think it was like 52-48, but like it's tight. And that means Vegas is happy because, the books, if it's even, that's always good. But
Sure.
It's a case where nothing has changed with the bye week off. Everybody is seemingly as healthy as you're going to get. And we can just go back 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Eagles lost by 3 points. So everything's lining up to be that who has the ball last type situation.
When you think about this game, right, obviously you mentioned what happened 2 years ago. But the biggest difference to 2 years ago and now, number one, different defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon 2 years ago, now Vic Fangio. And number two, let's be realistic, Chiefs offensive line, not as good as it was 2 years ago, right?
True.
So
Yep.
how does that impact how you're looking at these numbers?
Well, and especially, how about a little guy called Saquon Barkley for the Eagles? Most dynamic, punishing rusher in the game right now. So there are a couple key differences. The Eagles defense and Chiefs defense are both phenomenal. Now, when it comes to the line of scrimmage, overall, on both sides of the ball, I wouldn't say the Chiefs are bad at either one, but I'd say the Eagles have the advantage on both sides. So when it comes to, all right, how do you, if you're the Eagles and the offensive line isn't as good, what does that mean? Does that mean you can get to Patrick Mahomes quicker? What little wrinkles are they going to hold? How are they going to utilize their running back committee, Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco? So if you're the Eagles, Josh, it's always that weird balance because we see so many times you don't want to sell out blitz because then he holds it just that last second and then dumps it and Travis Kelce's open magically. So you got to do that pressure. And I think the Eagles obviously know this. You get the front 3, 4, 5, whatever set you're running up there. You push with that. You drop people back and you try to make Mahomes. He doesn't really make a mistake, but you make him maybe throw it away or maybe check down at the shorter passes and then lock up those tackles.
So you mentioned about Pacheco. I think that's an interesting point you brought up because I went through, people can bring up the stat, Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes, right? But guess what? A lot of those games were actually not just like pure blowouts, right? It wasn't like the Chiefs were like scoring 40 points in all those games. Some of them were like 22-16 and, 24, 14. They weren't always crazy. And Mahomes, he didn't always have great games. It was the run game of the Chiefs that was taking advantage. And I think we all know the Eagles' defensive line is better than the Broncos a few years ago. So, for you, do you think the run game is going to be something the Chiefs try to test on Sunday?
Well, yeah, you have to. You have to test everything. You have to see if you can find that a hole. Kareem Hunt has dialed back the clock, right? You got a nice 1-2 punch with him and Pacheco. And, of course, we know the weapons that you can sprinkle along everywhere. So, as we know, Josh, if you can get that run game respectable even, doesn't have to be running for 10 yards a carry, but respectable enough that the Eagles defense has to account for it, that's where everything else can start to open up. Maybe the little Xavier-worthy little runaround, right, in the back. Maybe he gets deep downfield. Kelsey, of course, Juju popped a little bit. How about you know what? Quick betting mention here. I'm getting a hunch on DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown. That's a feeling where you got a vet. Everyone's paying attention to everybody else. He's the forgotten man. I don't know. I'm just feeling that one. But yeah, you got to. It's something you have to test because, Josh, going back to last year, the Chiefs became a more balanced offense. They weren't afraid of doing the run, and that's been a part of their success. However, that's looked over the past 2 seasons. So yeah, I think they're going to test it.
I'm seeing DeAndre Hopkins plus 650 anytime touchdown over at the Caesars Sportsbook app. So
let's get on it.
That's pretty good value there, buddy.
Dude, plus 6. Come on. Why? DeAndre Hopkins isn't terrible, right? He hasn't been utilized. I don't know why. Sometimes you can't put your finger, just like how the Chiefs win. You can't necessarily put your finger on it. They just do. I think DeAndre Hopkins plus 650. I'll tell you this, too. I had a dream 2 nights ago, Josh, and I want to tell you this. I'm not betting on an A.J. Brown anytime touchdown because I had a dream. It was 5 seconds long. It was vivid. I was watching A.J. Brown. It was perfect. Hurts rolled out. Brown, it got thrown to Brown, left side of the end, and he dropped the ball in the end zone. And in my head, my dream, it was I had bet an anytime touchdown, and I lost. I don't know what that means, but I'm not betting A.J. Brown anytime touchdown. Just for the viewers. I may be prophetic here, just saying.
All right, good to know. Good to know. Well, if we go back to the DeAndre Hopkins point, here's my question for you, because we know that Quinyon Mitchell's had an amazing year. Darius Slay's had a good year, not a great year. So is this something where are you saying, hey, I know at some point D-Hop is going to be on the older Slay. Now it's two old guys going at it, and maybe that kind of leans into your saying, hey, look, when push comes to shove, I'm gonna take Hopkins over Slay in that situation.
And it depends on what we're talking about here. Do I expect DeAndre Hopkins to dominate the game and dominate Slay? No. Do I expect that there could be an opportunity for him to pop up in the end zone when everybody else is covering Kelsey and Worthy and Hunt? Yeah, I do. This is a veteran who can get open. He's not what he was, but this is the case, especially if it's two older guys up against each other. It's a good act of gamesmanship because those are two dynamite pros. Right. So I just feel this is, look, again, is there he caught one pass against Buffalo. Although I'm not saying this is my lock of the week or anything. I'm just saying this is the case. Because Josh, how many times do you see in the Super Bowl some weird guy gets a touchdown? Like it's saying P. Ryan's probably going to get a touchdown. Somebody you don't think of gets a touchdown. Well, why not Hopkins? Veteran guy, get him finally at the Super Bowl. Let me get in the end zone.
I'll give you a guy then. I'll give you. You could pick between the two of them. Okay.
Okay.
So Kenny Gainwell was cleared today. He cleared concussion protocol. He's good to go. He's their third down back.
Yep.
Plus 1,100 anytime touchdown. Or Philadelphia's number 2 tight end, Grant Calcaterra. Remember, Calcaterra had some good games when Dallas Goedert was injured. Also, Calcaterra, Jalen Hurts together at Oklahoma back in 2019. He is plus 2,900.
Plus 20. Calcaterra seems like a Super Bowl name, Josh, that just pops up and people are going to be throwing their remotes at the ground. What? Throw it to Brown or Goddard for the anytime touchdown. I'll say Calcaterra for the reasons you mentioned. Yeah, look, and people saying too, we've talked about it for weeks now, Josh. It's, is there something wrong with the Eagles passing game? No, it's because Saquon Barkley runs the ball really well. This just in. So you can keep doing that, but they have weapons. And so the Chiefs, of course, know that. Their defense has been great. That could be the left uncovered guy, similar to the Hopkins, right? You can't cover everybody necessarily. Calcaterra could be. And that's what? Plus 2,900?
2,900.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to sprinkle a bit on Hopkins and Calcaterra. Let's make some Super Bowl coin, buddy. Let's go.
Andy McNamara at AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform. The Sick Podcast. Like, subscribe, download wherever you get your podcasts. One of the props I really like in this game, there's a couple of them, but one of them is Devonta Smith. And the reason why I bring up Smith is because the last time they were in the Super Bowl against Spags in that defense, Smith, 7 catches, 100 receiving yards. 3 of his 5 biggest games of his career, D. Smith, has been against Spags in his NFL career. And his yard total is only 52.5. I mean, how do you not take the over on that, Andy?
That's a great bet. That's a great bet right there. You have the history. You have the recent success. You have where he's healthy. I'd be smashing that, especially you have to think the number 1 coverage is going to go against A.J. Brown when it comes to passing, right? It's got to be A.J. So already we're dropping down a level. You can't discount. We just mentioned Dallas Goedert. This is the great part with these two teams. You can't just focus on one guy. There's so many other possibilities, even if they're a level down who can pop up. So plus 52 receiving yards for Devonta Smith. I think that's a great bet. I got one for you if you want, Josh.
Go for it.
We got, depending on the sports book, they got Swifty bets, right? Everyone loved Taylor Swift. No one's sick of that at all. Here's a Swifty bet on a couple sports books. It's called Shake It Off. All the Swifty bets are after Taylor Swift songs. Shake It Off. Philadelphia Eagles to score first Kansas City Chiefs to win plus 300. I know we want the Eagles to win. However, that sounds like a pretty good bet if you think the Chiefs are going to win. Eagles get the ball. Let's say this. Chiefs win the coin toss, defer. Eagles go down. Saquon's cooking. You score first, and then the Chiefs win the game. Plus 300. Not bad.
Not bad. I'll give you that.
You know.
How do you
we
feel
want
about
Eagles to win, of course, but
all right, so if you want to go off the board a little bit, right? How do you feel about national anthem bets?
I've done some research on this, my friend, and some Gatorade as well, if you want. So national anthem,
let's get into it real quick. Yeah. Yes.
dude, I'm more in depth with these stupid Super Bowl props than I've ever been before. Done some research. So John Batiste, New Orleans native, right?
Yes.
He has sung at 2 other major sporting events.
Correct.
U.S. Open, something, and I forget the other one. But they're major ones. About 90 to 95 seconds were his national anthems. The over-under is set at 120.5 seconds. So even if he wants to drag it out a bit, traditionally he's still short. I think you go under. Smash the under on the national anthem.
I agree with you 100% because I am a big believer in you got to factor in who the musician is. Like when Chris Stapleton did it, I kept telling people hit the over because he's deliberate. He's a country singer. He's out there with his guitar, right? You know.
Yeah.
Whereas you mentioned John Baptiste, he's a fast-paced guy. He's a guy who's hitting those notes, bang, bang, bang. And as you said, 95 seconds. That's a huge gap from 120.
Exactly. I think right off the bat, whoever the singer is, if they hold that too long at the start, if they hold that you're like, oh no. This is going over. We're in trouble. Also, landed the free. Everyone holds that free. You hold that free too long, that could be a wallet buster right there. But I think we're going under.
All right, so what do you got for the Gatorade?
Okay, so last 2 Super Bowls for the Chiefs, both times have been purple. Purple is the favorite. So it depends who you think is going to win. If you think the Chiefs will win, you got to get purple. What, they're going to not do purple last 2 years? Of course they're going to have purple. If you think the Eagles will win, yellow and green are the next 2 favorites there.
Yellow's out. Because remember, they used yellow in the NFC Championship game. Whatever the Gatorade in the championship game is usually not the Gatorade they use in the Super Bowl.
And now the bet, though, what I've seen anyway, is yellow/green. Like they clump it as one. Depends on the book, but that's what I've seen. It could be yellow or green is what I've seen.
I want to know what the odds are for clear.
There is clear. Clear is like a hot. You get a good number on clear. You get a good number. It's called clear/water, so it can be clear Gatorade or water. And you can win.
I would go clear because again, history tells us that when the color in the NFC or AFC Championship game, they don't use that color in the Super Bowl. It's like a proven fact. It almost every single time. So and by the way, this started the trend with the Giants. Because remember, the Giants, the first team to do the Gatorade dumps in the 80s. And it was a thing where they always found the different color because they wanted to get Parcells a different color every time.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that story. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But could it be a wild card, like an orange? Like, I like the orange flavor. Is it what people want to taste?
That's a classic.
Could be.
It's a classic color.
Could be a bunch of. So I think if you think the Chiefs are going to win, you're smashing purple. The Eagles side, yeah. Well, if you're mentioning that yellow angle, then maybe you do go for a clear or I don't know.
I'm not telling people how to bet, but maybe you place one $5 bet on purple, one $5 bet on orange, and just kind of cover your bases a little bit,
See what happens. Yeah. Go from there. That's not bad. I know you can also bet on who you think wins the coin toss, also wins the game. I think that's pretty interesting as well. I think it's plus 300 for the Chiefs to win the coin toss and win the game. Eagles, it was about the same.
I'll tell you right now, if the prop bet says receiver defer, always pick defer. These teams defer all the time.
All the time. I wonder if there are side ref bets. Number of time the refs screw over the Eagles. Over under what? 3.5?
we don't have time to get into it. I got to go, Andy, but I got to tell you, there was a story out there this week. Apparently there's a rumor. The refs are so mad that people keep accusing them of being biased to the Chiefs that they might go the other way.
Oh,
I'm not saying.
Maybe that's the angle. The Eagles people have put that in the head that it's so obvious you want to go the other way. Interesting to watch. To watch. Okay.
Andy,
hey, it's going to be a fun one, man.
Tell us about the podcast.
Oh, we got a great Sunday live Super Bowl show, 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. Subscribe to Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Special guest, All Elite Wrestling Zone, Daddy Magic, Matt Menard for Daddy Magic Picks. Going to have a parlay party. Kick it off. Going to be a great time. 10 a.m. Eastern on X at AndyMC81.
Andy, always appreciate the conversation. I'm sure we will be talking again next week. Always fun. And you know what? At least you got the Eagles still to root for, right, my friend?
I will root for the Eagles, and Myles Garrett, stay in town, buddy. Come on. We'll see you.
Or you could go to the Eagles. You could go to the Eagles.
Oh, well, if I get a first-round pick or two.
I'm just saying, Josh Sweat, he hired Drew Rosenhaus to be his agent. He's a free agent.
Andrew Berry's brother's still there, right? Adam Berry?
Yes.
Could be. You never know. Go Birds. We'll talk next week after an Eagles Super Bowl. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Andy McNamara at AndyMC81. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night 97.3 ESPN. I'll be with Billy Schweim this Sunday for our Eagles pregame show.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
This is Billy Schweim. Join me, Josh Hennig, and former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Dave Clement as we broadcast live from the Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey for our Eagles pregame show. We'll be giving away Eagles merch courtesy of Fan Treasures to fans who attend. Fox 29 News sports anchor Scott Grayson will give us his keys to the game, brought to you by Blitz's Market. Then my fantasy football guru Brian Hartley checks in, brought to you by Charlie's Bar. Kenny Kersey will perform his hit single Bleed Green. It's the Locker Room with Billy Schweim, live from the Chicken or the Egg, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.